Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review the new animated film, Tangled. My wife and I caught a showing of this Saturday afternoon, and I gotta tell you, I was quite impressed. I'd heard good things about it, and I was figuring I would at least enjoy myself, but I was really engaged by this film. I found it interesting from beginning to end, even though, you know, it's a Disney story dealing with a classic fairy tale, so you kind of have an idea how it's going to end from the moment you enter the theater. But I still enjoyed myself, and it occurred to me as I'm sitting down to this that while I'm completely familiar with the meme of Rapunzel, tower, girl locked in it, long hair, that I actually don't know the original myth all that well. I really need to look that up. Because I don't know how far they diverged from the original concept to make this movie. I'm sure they did. They needed to make it slightly more modern, and they needed to throw in a few tropes for children and adults to keep them engaged. And I think they succeeded. So the essential story here, and this is going to be full of spoilers, so be aware of this, though the film does a pretty good job of spoiling things anyway. So, a princess who has magic powers. She has magic powers because her mother was very, very ill, on the verge of dying. To save her life, she was given a magic plant, and this magic plant saved her mother and infused the unborn babe with magical force. She was brought into the world, and if you sing the right tune, or she sings the right tune, she will produce a magical healing effect, in this case through her hair. A witch, and that's the only way to describe the woman known as Mother Gothel in the film, decides that she needs this magic power for herself far more than, say, the king and queen does. So she kidnaps the child and hides her away in a tower and raises her to be completely and utterly dependent. Now, intriguingly, she doesn't cow her in a traditional form. And I speak from some experience here, having been raised in an abusive household, because it doesn't appear to be any form of physical abuse. It is all psychological and emotional manipulation, and masterfully done. But at the same time, there's a veneer of civility about the whole process. She raises a functioning human being who just is dependent on her. And I think that was to make the film more approachable. Of course, in reality, you could have raised an individual that was far more crippled and would have never rebelled against you no matter what, but it would be a much, much uglier movie, and it wouldn't really fall into the category of things that Disney would want to do. But this little fantasy world that she created, girl with magic hair stuck in a tower, is shattered when an escaping thief, one Flynn Rider, breaks in to hide, and there our film begins to move forward. And I didn't realize at the time that Mandy Moore was Rapunzel. I recognized the name Mandy Moore, but the other two main characters, Flynn Rider is voiced by Zachary Levi, and Mother Gothel is voiced by Donna Murphy, are people that I had never heard of, and I still really don't know who they are. I know I spent a good part of the film really trying to place Flynn Rider's name, and I just couldn't do it. And Ron Perlman does show up playing one of the film's thugs, and he does it masterfully because Ron Perlman does have an awesome voice. I enjoy Ron Perlman's work, and it's good to know that with his voice, he can work in at least animation long after his career as an action type of character may be over. But there were some tropes in there that you have to have in a Disney film. There's a cute little chameleon named Pascal, which I thought was moderately clever. And there was a horse, which demonstrated traits very much of both the equine and canine species, acting very dog-like in many ways, and having a full grasp of the English language, which was quite entertaining. So you had a nice little cast of heroes and villains. I think it was well balanced out. The animation was beautiful from beginning to end. There's a scene in particular where they release a number of paper lanterns into the sky over a lake, and it was breathtaking, because you've got the can of lanterns going in the sky and the reflection in the water. It was really well done. Kudos to the animation team. I enjoyed this from beginning to end. I also found it interesting because even though this was a cartoon, I felt that a lot of the characters had physical characteristics that were very realistic. And I apologize, this sounds a little strange, but the way the bodies of the female characters in this movie moved seemed very real to me. Mother Gothel had boobs, and they functioned as body parts. There's a scene at the end where Rapunzel is hugged by the main character, and the clothing falls over her posterior in a way that looks real. You know, this is how cloth falls over someone's butt. And I find that interesting. They put that kind of detail into a film that is, at least in theory, aimed at children. But I think that it showed a level of professionalism that I really appreciate, because it made the people look more real. It made me engage with them in a better way, because I didn't find myself being put off at a distance by thinking, oh, this is animation. Yes, it is animation, but it's animation that emulates enough of the real world that the wall between you and the animation tends to fade. So I enjoyed myself from beginning to end. I'm going to pick this up on DVD when I get it with commentary, because I really want to know what the people had, experience they had when making it. I highly recommend this for anyone. I think this would be a great family film, a lot of fun, and I really do need to figure out the legend of Rapunzel with a little more detail to see how far it actually has diverged from the original. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself. My wife enjoyed it, so what more can you ask?